There was a small house in Maple Creek Town where 10-year-old Ethan lived. Every morning, as soon as his mom called out, "Ethan, honey, get up. It's time for school," Ethan would burrow deeper under the blanket. "Mom, I don't want to go today. My stomach hurts." He'd make an excuse like every day. Sometimes a headache, sometimes a stomachache, sometimes he'd fake a fever. At first, his parents would get worried and take him to the doctor. But slowly they realized that Ethan simply hated school. "Son, if you don't study, you'll suffer a lot later in life," his dad would explain. But every time, Ethan would start crying, dig in his heels, and throw his plate. His parents' hearts would melt, and they'd stop sending him to school. Slowly, this became a habit. He'd go 1 or 2 days a week, and throw tantrums to stay home the rest. Sometimes he'd play with friends, sometimes watch TV. The books just gathered dust in the corner. One day, his best friend Ryan said, "Ethan, come on, let's go to school. We're getting new books today." Ethan made a face. "You go, I'm not coming. Studying and all that isn't for me." The years went by. Ethan kept growing older, but his education stayed exactly where it was. He got stuck in 5th grade and never moved past it. The teachers had grown tired of trying to convince him. One day the school principal came to the house and said, "If the boy keeps skipping school like this, we'll have to remove his name." And, in the end, that's exactly what happened. Ethan was struck off the school register. That day, Ethan felt overjoyed, as if he'd been freed from some huge burden. But the worry in his parents' eyes was something Ethan couldn't understand back then. Time kept moving at its own pace. Ethan was now 16 years old. The other boys from town, who used to play with him, were now making something of themselves through school and college. Ryan had finished 10th grade and enrolled in a college in the city. But Ethan had neither a degree nor any skill. His father was getting older now. Working in the fields was getting hard for him. One day his father said, "Son, it's time you start earning. Take on the family's responsibilities." Ethan went to the city, looking for work. But everywhere they asked the same question. "Are you educated? Up to which grade?" When Ethan admitted he hadn't even finished 5th grade, they'd turn him away. He found labor work at a factory, and even that paid very little. All day he'd haul bricks in the sun. He'd lift bags of cement. He'd come home exhausted every evening. One day new machines arrived at the factory. The owner announced, "Those who can read and write will be trained to run the machines. Their pay will increase too." Ethan's name was struck off the list, because he couldn't even properly write his own name. He was stuck doing manual labor, while the educated boys his age moved ahead in life. At night, sitting alone, Ethan would think, "I wish I had listened to Mom and Dad back then. I wish I hadn't dropped out of school." But what good was regret now? A few more years passed. Ethan was now 25 years old. His family got him married, thinking that maybe responsibility would set him straight. His wife Sarah was a simple, sensible girl. The early days of marriage passed happily. But soon the real struggles began to surface. Ethan's wages from labor work were so little that the household expenses could barely be covered. A small rented room. That's where the two of them got by. Sarah would say, "Find some better work." "So much hard work for so little pay?" Ethan would answer helplessly, "What can I do? I'm not educated. Who's going to give me the job?" Then a daughter was born to them. There was great joy, but responsibilities grew too. Milk, medicine, clothes. Money was needed for everything, and Ethan's earnings weren't increasing. Many times by month's end, the food supplies would run out, and they'd have to borrow. One day their daughter fell sick. There was no money to take her to the doctor. Ethan had to beg a neighbor for a loan, hands folded. That night he couldn't sleep for a long time. His childhood kept playing before his eyes. Those days when he stubbornly refused to go to school, when he'd toss his books into a corner, when his teachers would try to reason with him, and he'd laugh it off. One night Sarah asked him, "Are you always so sad?" Tears welled up in Ethan's eyes. He said, "Sarah, this is the root of all my troubles, that I didn't study as a child. If I had studied, maybe our life wouldn't be this hard today. No good job, no respectable income. I can't even get proper treatment for our daughter. Whatever little I should have studied, I threw away in stubbornness and tantrums." A few days later, Ethan visited his hometown after many years. There he ran into Ryan, who now had a good government job right there in town. A nice house, a nice car. Ryan hugged Ethan, and they talked about old times. Ethan felt no jealousy in his heart, just a deep regret. On the way home, Ethan made up his mind about something. He picked up his daughter and said, "Sweetheart, no matter what happens, I will make sure you get a proper education. I won't let your life turn out the way mine did."